I'm Shannon. You're probably all full from lunch and ready to fall asleep, so I hope my Prezi is as exciting as Alden's. It's the first one I've made, but I've used it a few times through school, so it was pretty neat. So I've been the Diversity Projects Coordinator for actually 2.5 years now with the Immigrant Welcome Center. I've organized 2 diversity health fairs, created a resource website for immigrants. I'm currently working on the Interfaith Project, and I'm working on my second arts engagement project as well. Personally, I'm working on my 4th year of my Bachelor of Social Work. I'm on the board of Vancouver Island Dogs Rescue Society, and this is my first public speaking event ever, so please bear with me. So this is the first art piece. Oops. There. Oh, it works. So we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary today at this year at the Immigrant Welcome Center. We've had a great year full of projects. We incorporated some local projects. We partnered with the Campbell River Arts Council, and we integrated an existing banner project. We chose the theme of diversity, so there was banners put up around town that were painted by immigrants and youth, and that to just reflect the diversity in our community. We also recently celebrated the first anniversary of our sister office that we opened last year, and since then we've also doubled our staff in Campbell River. So. And our lovely Rachel Blaney's in the back. She's hiding. So we couldn't ask for a better ED. That's Rachel Blaney. She dreams up all these amazing projects and lets us make them happen. She was recently asked to join the Conference Board of Canada's Leadership Roundtable on Immigration and was featured in several local newspapers in Campbell River and the Comox Valley. Don't listen to anything Jim says. Sure. Is it too loud? So, graphic recording, which is all around you here, it's a form of edutainment, which is media with a message. It's combining education and entertainment to create a visual learning tool. At the same time as being visually pleasing, it's also a form of art that tells a deeper story meant to educate, bring awareness to, and empower. So it's just a form of engaging art. So the graphic recording, some of you who were here last night would have saw Sam recording on the wall. There's a few different styles. This is more of an integrated one. His was a little bit separate pieces, but how the recorder does it is that she would record these and then take them back to her studio to do more work, and I believe that's what Sam is doing as well, so his will probably look a little more similar to this when it visually captures people's stories. The artist sits in on a dialogue, draws what they hear, linking ideas, thoughts, and stories together in a tapestry that shows the bigger picture. It allows people to feel heard and share their story in a unique way. So you can see there's lots of stories embedded in there. There's all kinds of words. The longer you look at it, the more things you'll see. So, bit of a project overview. We had 7 groups involved. We had AIDS Vancouver Island, our International Women's Group, the Campbell River Pride, Kwanwatsi Big House with Youth for Diversity. We had the one-stop drop, which is put on by Street Reach, and as well as the Women's Center. So the original of all these art pieces are actually much bigger than this. We made copies of them so we could bring them here to show you. They're about between 7 and 12 feet long, and they're done in chalk, so they're quite stunning. But we put a call out to local agencies to see who was interested in hosting a group. Initially, it was decided that groups would be promoted to the public unless the hosting agency specified that they would like a closed group. Most agencies actually wanted to keep their groups private just due to safety and emotional, cultural sharing in that. And unfortunately, since the project, 2 of the groups have actually closed down due to funding issues. So the Campbell River Pride doesn't operate anymore, and neither does the One Stop Drop. So at least their stories are still being told here today. So it's one way graphic recording can do that. And the artist was Jill Banting. She's out of the Campbell River Arts Council. She's currently working on her master's at Emily Carr, and she used all the art pieces in her portfolio to get accepted. And our advisory committee was the Arts Council, CRAVE, which is Campbell River Aboriginal Visioning and Empowerment, and the Lakewood Family Life Society. So the next slide is a news piece, and it was done by Shaw TV. They interviewed Rachel, Jill, and myself just about the art, so I will let you guys watch that and just get a better idea of what the whole project was about.
What I find is that what happens is things come forward and reveal themselves that you never would have imagined, and each one is like a record. It's full of information.
It's an untapped genre and unmistakably revealing art form at the Tidemark Art Gallery.
Graphic recording falls into a category of graphic facilitation, which involves group dialogues and community dialogue. And so the recorder places himself in the room with the group and either facilitates a dialogue or conversation or records what's going on.
The show is a result of conversations with various groups, typically marginalized and misunderstood.
That was one of the missions, or one of the mandates of the project, was to speak to groups that weren't necessarily seen or heard very often in our community. And so when we start listening to those groups and begin to see just the wealth of experience and information they have to help find solutions to all of these problems, like marginalization of any sort, they hold the keys and the answers.
Stories of Campbell River was a project that we came up with because we really recognize that there's a lot of diverse communities within the Campbell River, and yet there's a lot of commonalities that are themes that are just human themes that we all experience. And so what we wanted to do was have images and graphic recording that shared some of those diverse stories, but also really showcased how alike we are and how we are all one community full of diverse people.
The images are beautiful, and it's very visual kind of art. It's very new. I think a lot of people haven't seen this kind of art before, so it's actually very cutting edge, if you will. You can look at it for hours and see something different every time you look at it. I've worked with the pieces for a few months now, and every time I look at them, I see something new.
What do you hope people will get from seeing the show?
I hope that they find some questions and wonder what's going on and ask themselves some questions about what they're seeing, and find out a little bit more about these groups perhaps, and just open their minds and expand their thoughts about what art can do, and because I know that it's done that for me, and to question themselves and to become more aware of the other people in the world.
Stories of Campbell River through graphic recording will be on display until May 21st at the Tidemark Theatre. In Campbell River for the Daily, I'm Margie Greaves.
And there's posters over here of all the art, so if anybody sees one that they really like, you can actually take them all home with you. So we also wrote several new press releases, and we were mentioned in the paper several times throughout the project, including the front page. Our marketing was so successful that we even had calls from out of town. Someone called from Comox to see if they could be a part of the project, but unfortunately, because it's stories of Campbell River, we had to decline them. So hopefully, maybe one day we can offer a similar arts engagement through our new office in Courtney. Because we found our press releases were being picked up more and more, our office recently participated in a press release writing workshop, just to make our articles more marketable, more eye-catching, just a part of best practices to really up the ante for ourselves. Even though we were already getting in the paper, we can do better. So best practices. Like all your projects, there's always unforeseen successes and challenges we must accommodate, adapt to, and learn from. So some of the successes. AIDS Vancouver Island, they were so engaging that they needed 2 art pieces to capture everything that they discussed. It was an unexpected result, but the group was so dynamic and expressive that we couldn't fit it all onto one canvas. So they actually have 2, I believe that's the 2 end ones there. One of them's a lot darker, so rather than just having one really dark, she split it into 2. So there's a darker one called Fear, and the other one is called Peace. Through listening to the needs of our clients, the International Women's Group, which did this art piece here, it resulted in ongoing learning regarding financial literacy. So the women really, the groups weren't pre-planned, so they could talk about whichever was important to them, barriers, values, commonalities, and just the common theme that really came through was financial freedom in Canada. And a lot of them didn't know about credit, how credit cards worked, and that sort of thing. So through that, we had a mini lunch workshop. It was facilitated by a lady named Helen, who's actually an immigrant herself, something that we try to encourage just for new immigrants to empower other new immigrants. We're also having a 2-day workshop. It's going to be put on by SETI, which is the Social and Enterprise Development Innovations of the TD Financial Literacy Fund. So that's another financial literacy workshop, and it's going to be open to all agencies and all the immigrants that we serve, and that'll be in December. Our media, our promotion of our projects is always improving. So amongst our staff, training to develop the press release writing skills and being featured on TV, we also utilize our local radio stations, the free calendars of events, social service-based email lists, as well as our own clients and spreading the word of our upcoming events. We find that that's often one of the best ways, and it's free, and all you have to do is make a poster and show everybody. And so through building and strengthening relationships, we've developed a strong media network. One example, I put out an email during our diversity health fair, and I had the ad embedded in the email that said, look for this in Friday's newspaper. Well, I hadn't contacted the newspaper yet to put it in, and the newspaper actually contacted me to see why I hadn't called to put it in yet. So we've got a really good working relationship with our local media. And some challenges. So miscommunication between a partner and myself, the coordinator and advisory. So there were some agreements that weren't kept, not out of malice or anything. It just seemed to be a lack of accountability and responsibility to the agreements, because we often talk about so much that things can get lost in meeting minutes and whatnot. The art was larger than proposed, which resulted in us not being able to mount the originals due to financial constraints. So our budget, that wasn't written into our budget, so we had to actually put so the originals, like I said before, some of them were 12 feet long. A little more expensive to mount. We were hoping in the beginning that they would be around 5 feet. Another challenge was that we had a small advisory committee. So it was harder to get more of a diverse array of ideas and opinions, and if one or two of them didn't show up, then it was an advisory committee that was 1 or 2 people, so it was quite small. And as people are very busy, sometimes people didn't show up, so we had to work around that. And everybody loves reporting, so identifying visible minorities for the new reporting guidelines proved quite challenging. So some solutions. We designed a collaborative agreement template. It outlines the roles and responsibilities, and it's filled out by each participating agency. And not every section is always relevant to what you're working on as your projects change throughout what you're doing, but you can modify it, delete sections, add what you need. The form that we have is fairly new. We haven't used it yet, so we're still playing around with it and seeing how that works for us. So there's 3 goals we have for the agreement. The first is to increase communication. So in order to fill out the form, we have to discuss all the details of what our partnerships will look like, who's going to do what, that kind of stuff. It encourages responsibility. So when ideas are just discussed, they can get lost and forgotten and overlooked, because everybody always has grand ideas, and we don't do all of them, but we try to. So the agreement gives each partner something to refer back to that is specific to them and the ideas that they came up with. It also provides accountability. So if the agreements are not kept, either side might have a different memory of what was discussed. We can look back and see where there was a communication issue and hopefully try to limit those issues. And there's just a quick example of the collaborative agreement. It's a 13-page document, so you fill out one with each agency. And you can create a master copy afterwards of everyone's documents in one. So there is contact info and project overview. There's marketing responsibilities. So radio ads, social media, website, who's going to do what and how often. Coordination, so catering, transportation, equipment setup, who's arranging accommodations, and expenses and invoicing, so who's in charge of paying for what. And termination of agreement, so if somebody decides that they can't uphold one of their agreements, who has the right to terminate the collaboration, days of notice required, so somebody may not be able to say, oh, I can't do this the day before a big event or something. Acceptable formats of notice of termination, and consequences if they don't comply, which I don't know what the consequences would be, other than we might be kind of upset. We'll send Jim after them. Oh, and sorry, that was ownership, so who owns, oh, I have 1 minute left. Oh, that was fast. Okay, I'll talk real fast. So that's just a great tool to kind of get our advisory committee and all our partners on the same page. So we actually have a larger advisory committee this year. So if half of them don't show up, that's fine. We still have enough people to get enough representation of who's involved in the project. Evaluations. Oh, that slide disappeared. But so on our evaluations, we were asked to provide a percentage of participants that are immigrants, non-immigrants, refugees, Aboriginals, First Nations, Métis, and visible minorities. So there's actually no mention of Inuit under there, even though Aboriginal covers all 3 of those things. They specifically point out First Nations and Métis, but not Inuit. And no mention of invisible minorities, because something that we've noticed in our community is lots of immigrants from the UK and that, so they are still white. They're not visible, but they are minorities. So the challenge we found, it was too hard to collect this information verbally or by observation without biased judgment. So the solution was that we added questions to the written evaluation, and we also included the option of Canadian, because some of immigrants won't identify. They would rather identify as Canadian. And the option that prefer not to answer. We also added the question, if you do view yourself as an invisible minority. So I'll just cut some of this out. Yeah, we found that actually a lot of people preferred not to answer. So we, explaining the reasons why we were asking this and what our reporting was for actually helped increase the number of responses because they don't know what we're doing with this information. So through the project, we've learned to create lasting agreements using our new template, the value of larger advisory committees, and how to effectively report statistics with less assumptions and more client input.